Content is parties being sent to a third party. Something's loading.
That's good.
You don't see the screen, do you?
No, it says meeting is now being is streaming on YouTube.
I'm sorry?
It says that it's live on YouTube. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're good.
All right, but are we live on Zoom too?
Yeah, you're live on YouTube right now.
Ray, you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I'm still confused, but
Right. So yeah, that's what so you did it. So look, now I'm going to share. But there was an option. I'll show you that next time. There is an option to when you go live to title it.
right.
The default is just to go live on Zoom. So look in chat. There you go. That's the live stream.
All right. So, but is this being recorded on Zoom now?
Is it being recorded on Zoom? Do you normally have to click record?
Yeah. So, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to click it yet. I'm waiting for Ralph.
Yeah, but now this is technically live on YouTube right now.
All right. So, so it's showing I have one person watching. So he doesn't know. He's probably a Jet fan. He doesn't know what we're doing.
He's getting
Hang on. We'll be right there.
me as a guy as the last time.
Yeah.
All right, Lori, let's maybe we'll reschedule and you'll come here and walk me through
Yeah,
this.
no, if you're available even this weekend, I can come over and kind of go through some stuff with you.
All right, let me see. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let me go. All right, Lori.
You made it. All right.
I'll talk to you. Bye.
All right, bye.
All right. Let me call Ralph.
Did you write all this stuff down that you need to do?
This was, first of all, he's a good kid. He wrote it down, the appointment. He forgot about it.
Well, it's all right. You got online with him.
So he doesn't, but Ray, you got to understand 90% of my problems, 99%, navigating a screen.
Well, I don't know. I know I was just trying to do things from my end, from my view, and until you changed to this screen, which was what we normally have, I was like, I can't, all I had was your desktop view and then three little boxes of you, me, and Lori on the side, and I couldn't get it to go like this, is what I was trying to do. So,
Right. So I don't know what's going on with Ralph. I don't know what.
I thought he was waiting to hear from you.
Well, hold on. Let me call. Hold on just a second.
What's up, bud?
Ralph, did you get an invite to Zoom?
Yeah, I'm actually looking at myself on Zoom right now.
How come we don't see you?
I'm lucky you.
It sounds like he's on Zoom, but he didn't join the meeting.
Oh,
I'm guessing.
Good point.
Because
I have to admit. Oh no, I'm sorry. I have to admit you.
Are you going to or not?
I just did. If I knew I had an option,
Yeah. What's going on? Where am I now?
there you are. Oh, this is great. Now, there's a little bit of a screw up. Some people are seeing this.
It says installation failed.
I see you.
I see you.
Really? How come I don't see me?
You're there.
I was there, and then I screwed around,
You're as
and
handsome as ever, Ralph.
then you're not seeing me.
And if
Probably see
you,
you and I hear you.
Oh, there I am. Yeah.
let me just say, if you're watching
You
on,
probably hang up.
YouTube, bear with us while we get this going. We're going to talk all Jets. We got a big agenda. but we're trying our second live stream. And of course, there's glitches when you overdo it. But we'll start. I'm going to hit the record button. You
You got
guys,
you got a little echo, Marty, but it sounds good.
I think.
oh, maybe I had you on the phone.
Yeah.
That's why. Do you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, and that's fine. But I like that echo. That was a nice effect. I think that'll make us stand out in the crowd.
All right, let me press the record button. Let me take a swig of water. Ralph, I was just telling Ray, the kid works, but he's great. He wrote down the appointment, doesn't show up. He said he forgot about it.
So you did this yourself?
Well, he
Oh.
walked me through it, but as I told Ray, 99% of my problem is being able to navigate the screen. That's why I wanted him here. He's gonna come over again, but okay, hold on.
Looks good, actually. I like the
It looks good. It's being screened live on YouTube,
yeah.
and the YouTube has
As we speak.
like a 5-second delay. But look, it's
Oh,
growing.
so I can curse then and you'll be
No,
able to-
no, if you curse, it's
We
okay.
haven't got the mute button set up yet.
Well, when we talk Jets, don't we have to curse?
All right, here we go. You ready? Here we go. Welcome to Jets Rewind. I'm Marty Schupak. I'm joined by my two very close friends, Ralph Sharega and Ray Clifford, and we are attempting to do a live stream. We had a few growing pains. I feel like Robert Saleh on a 3rd down and 7, not knowing really what to do. How you doing, Ralph?
I'm doing fine until you made that comment. Now I'm not feeling as good.
All right, Ray, how you doing?
Good. I'm actually watching the NHL trade deadline day, which is pretty exciting, but
Really, maybe we can get a power forward from the NHL to play tight end for the Jets. Is there
I-
anyone
I-
available?
could we?
I want to hear.
Well, we're going
Ralph.
to draft one apparently, according to Mel. So
Yeah.
Well, that'll change 14 times between now and then. Don't worry.
I
He's
would
got
have loved to
nothing better to do.
hear Ralph's explanation when the Rangers beat the Islanders outdoors when they were down like 2 goals. That was
The
a
Islanders, I forgot about them. They're a long time ago. I thought the Knicks would be good this year, and then suddenly the whole thing just fell apart.
Ralph. My feeling is they're going to be great. They're all going to come back. They're going to be fresh.
Fresh, yeah, I know.
Fresh.
If they remember how to play with each other.
All right, but anyway, this is a show in the Jets. We bleed green here. Ralph, Ray, and Marty, and we're actually on the eve of free agent signing, and already there's been a lot of activity. I mean, I don't have the dates in front of me, but they have what they call a tampering period. I think it starts Monday, and then the signing period starts Wednesday. I'm not sure if those dates are right, but Ralph, as usual, you have a classic trivia, which we're all dying to hear it. So
Well, yeah, okay. This one is courtesy of Matt Lewis. He wants to know. Oh, there were last year. The Jets had 2 starting linebackers. They play basically a 4-2-5. The last time the Jets made the playoffs, they had not 2, not 3, but 4 starting linebackers. And then 2010. Can you name the 4 starting linebackers on that team?
Ooh, that's good. So tempting to look up on the internet while we're doing the show, but
That's
that'll
not
ruin the fun.
satisfying.
4 linebackers. It sounds like a Ray question and a Ray answer. But anyway,
you go back that far.
yeah, I got to tell you, because all the talk is about the Jets and the free agent signing and who they're going to get, what guy they're going to get. And I guess the question is before the draft is how many offensive linemen should they sign? Now, before we get into that, I just want to mention, I think it's going to be very difficult. I just see these offensive linemen, if they're in the league and they produce at, I don't know, a medium type of skill, that they're all going to try to get re-signed. I know the Rams just re-signed guard Kevin Dotson, a 3-year contract. The Jaguars re-signed guard Ezra Cleveland. The Browns restructured the contract of Jed Willis. About 2 hours ago, came across the wire, the 49ers They signed Colton McKivitz, who was a fifth-round draft pick, to another one-year contract. And I know that I guess it was the Cowboys just restructured Zach Martin's contract. I think it's going to be so tough to sign these offensive linemen. I just think it's going to really be challenging. So, Ralph, what's your opinion about how
Yeah,
should they sign?
I totally agree with you, Marty. I mean, the Jets have a lot going against them, and the only thing they have going for them is the possibility that Aaron Rodgers will play the season. But other than that, they were a laughing stock last year. You know, they're not looked at as a contender, and their offensive line was an absolute shambles. Keith Carter has a bad reputation around the league. So I agree with you totally. It's going to be tough. They're going to have to overpay. We know what the track record is of Joe Douglas as far as free agency goes, especially with the offensive lineman. It's been a disaster. I mean, other than, well, Connor McGovern, he's been okay. Anyone, Ray, am I missing someone, or has there been anyone else that has been good, worth signing?
Nothing, nobody that really stands out. I mean, he got a couple guys who you might call depth guys that hung around a bit, but nobody that I would say, their big shot was Lake and Tomlinson, and that just did not work at all. And so, I mean, he can go back to some guys who were here, but McGovern, who was the other center we had? But the Fant is the one I'm hearing that they could go back to.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I know Ralph doesn't like him. Ray is a
wasn't
little
huge
positive.
fan,
I'm
but
kind of in
yeah.
between.
Well, Marty, he's got that move where he takes off before the snap and he gets away with it. He established that, like Monroe established the spin move, you know?
Yeah, he did, but we might end up settling. But one of the reasons I think it's going to be such a hard sell is this isn't in the order of importance, but as everyone knows, New York has the worst tax laws in the country. That's number one. Number two, the reputation of the field at MetLife Stadium is terrible. And by the way, Ray, I saw something on Twitter. I hope it was false. I haven't verified it, that the Cincinnati Bengals are putting in the same turf that they have at MetLife Stadium. I don't know if you heard of that out
I
there.
read something they were changing. I didn't see what they were going to, but apparently the one that they have, they weren't real thrilled with either. But I don't think it was causing injuries, although people say this one, was. But I'd like to see them go back to grass, but when you got two teams playing on the same field and whatever else goes on in that stadium, it's kind of hard to keep a grass field in good condition.
God, and you think about what Shea Stadium was like with the baseball infield. I mean,
Right.
I'll take anything,
Yeah.
But, if you have boxes to check to attract free agents, you have, like, number one, a stable franchise and a good owner. Number two, a nice facility. Number three, competitive team with a possible chance to make more money from the playoffs. Number four, a quality quarterback. Number five, the market you're in is the field. Are you going to get injured? So, Ralph, you have all those boxes, and I see they have, like, just they have a beautiful facility down at Florham Park. I've been there. It's just unbelievable. Hopefully we do have a stable quarterback. But Ralph, what else is attractive for an offensive lineman about coming to the New York Jets?
Marty, I said it before. They got Keith Carter, who was the team was horrible last year. The offensive line, he's got a bad reputation. I remember Taylor Lewan was the first time I heard it a couple of years ago. Who was a veteran offensive lineman for the Titans, and he just lit it. He talked about him in no uncertain terms that he was bad to play for. So I don't know if he was just disgruntled, but I read some poll that said he is not one of the least popular coaches. I don't know what to say, Marty, except that they'd have to overpay. That's what it comes down to.
Well, Ray, they are going to have to overpay, and we're going to get to Bryce Huff right now. But when they overpay for offensive linemen, does that leave any room to sign a guy like Bryce Huff, or are we just all absolved that he's gone?
Well, I think that first of all, if you want a good offensive lineman, yeah, it's going to cost you. If you just want depth and those kind of guys, and you could probably fit it in. I don't think it's going to matter in Huff's case. I think he's gone regardless, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't think the Jets are going to overpay for Huff. I don't think they can afford to with all the other issues they have to take care of, mainly the offensive line. But, so they could do it with I think some filler guys, like a guy for depth here or there, but I don't think they're going to get a top lineman and sign Huff.
Ray, you think that with all their cuts, Uzama, Tomlinson, whatever, that if the number is like 12 to 14 million, and I'm guessing it'll be like a 3 or 4 year contract, somewhere in the range of like 54 million. And I guess knowing Joe Douglas, probably the first 3 years will be, guaranteed. He'll have an out after 3 years. You don't think that's doable? And keep in mind, they raised the salary cap too.
Well, doable and whether it's smart to do it are two different things. I mean, they could do it. I don't know if they really should. I mean, they still aren't convinced he's an every down player. So what if they're right? He's not. And you're going to spend all that money and sign a pass rusher, which I don't think we need as badly as we need help on the other side of the ball. So do you really want to, limit your other opportunities by sending such a big chunk of change to one guy? And if you say 3 years, 54 million, that's well over 12 to 14.
Well,
So,
there's going to be, there'll be a bonus. Yeah. So, okay. So let's say if it's like 4 years, well, still it's like 56. Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be
if
somewhere.
you're owing the yearly, that's gonna.
Yeah. Dividing. Ralph, we're going to get back to the offensive line, but what's your take on Bryce Huff if the price is 12 to 14 a year? Do you think they should do it or try to pursue
Well,
it?
the thing is with the salary cap going up, it helps every team, not just the Jets. So there are a lot of teams out there that can afford him. The interesting thing about Bryce Huff is, even if we find that he can play the run reasonably well, we still have not seen him play like 60, 70% of the snaps. And we don't know if he could maintain that level playing that many snaps. It might just be that he's so fresh all the time, which is obviously the strategy that Saleh has with his defensive line. So I'm with Ray. I don't think they're going to sign him. I think they have to go all in on offense. They've got Rodgers for 1 or 2 year window. He's saying he wants to play many years, but that would be great. But let's be realistic.
Yeah.
They've got to stack their offense.
Right.
Their defense might, take a hit a little bit losing Huff, but if their offense improves a lot, that will more than offset it. So I'm with Ray. I don't think they're going to sign him.
All right, let's go back to the original question. And Ralph, with free agents, how many offensive linemen should they sign?
Well, I would like them to sign a starter and a backup. Myself, I think the starter, I don't think he's going to be the elite starter, maybe a second tier guy they'll overpay for. They need another starter. I mean, who's coming back? You got Tipman. We don't know what ABT will play, but we don't know what his level is going to be. Let's assume he's solid.
Wes Schweitzer, who I don't think is awful. He was hurt a bit.
Well, that's always what we say about Jets. I don't think he's awful.
Right. But he's never on the field.
Do you think Connor McGovern will give another 1 year contract too?
That is an interesting situation because he took a big discount to come back last year. So I'm not counting him out. I think there's a shot.
I think they need bodies, and I think there's a good shot he'll come back.
But did he take a big discount, or was he just not getting any other offers? So
I think that,
so he might take another big discount as far as that goes.
Right. the other Connor McGovern, the guy
Yeah.
in Buffalo. He's better, yeah. But it brings up another point too, because of the Rogers trade, they don't have a second round pick, and the question is, should they try to trade back and get a second round pick? And how far are they going to have to trade back? I mean, they're going to go by everybody talks about the chart. I don't know how accurate, and Ralph, maybe you could answer this, that chart has been the last few years.
I have noticed that it's still pretty close in the trades that the Jets have made. It's more than in the ballpark. It's pretty close. So I think if we do go by the chart, they're going to have to drop back about 6 or 7 spots to get a mid to late second round pick. Of course, you got to find the right team, that matches up. They might have to add a later round pick, or maybe the other team throws one in or something like that. And yes, I would do that. It's a funny thing. I feel like their second round pick jinx has kind of been broken the last couple of years, getting Breece Hall and Tippmann. And I really think they need to get some bodies there. I think there'll be an offensive lineman. It might not be one of the 3 elite ones. I don't know if Latham drops. I haven't looked beyond him yet. But the top offensive lineman last year didn't perform particularly great anyway. I'm not I'm not totally sold. Excuse me, on the on the mock drafts and their ratings. It doesn't work out all the time. If you get someone in the mid to late first round, he's got a good shot of being a player. And I want that second round pick very much.
I do too. And Ralph, on our last live stream, I had mentioned it to Ray. I think a lot of it is going to depend upon where JJ McCarthy is going to go and how much of a need these teams have. I always say they get quarterback crazy, but what do they think of JJ McCarthy? And Ray, I'll ask you again. I know we asked the last time. What's your take on this JJ McCarthy from what you've seen?
I like him. I think he's got a lot of upside. He's not going to step in and tear it up. That would shock me, but I think he's a guy who you can probably fit into a lot of different style offenses, and he would be effective. And I think a team, I wouldn't be surprised at a team needing him. I think the only mistake a team would make if they want him is to do the same thing the Jets do every time, and kill him by throwing him in right away. But he's a guy, if you can let him sit for a little bit, probably a year, I think he can be a really good quarterback. He's shown he's not got the strongest arm. He's not super accurate, but he's accurate enough. But he's got a, from what I saw when he played for Michigan, he has a good football sense. He was very good in the clutch for Michigan. He makes plays, so I think he's got a lot of upside for a team that can develop him for a year or so. Who knows how fast these guys develop, maybe half a year, but don't throw him in right off the bat. I think he's got a shot, and I can see teams trading up to get him. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he'd go higher than 10 though. So the Jets might not be the team.
Wait, Ralph, before you go, because this question is for you, you could chime in, but I'm hoping he doesn't go in the top 9. The Jets are number 10.
Right.
Number 11 is Minnesota. Number 12 is Denver. Number 13 is Las Vegas. All 3 of those teams need quarterbacks. Now, it's not a big enough jump to gain that second round pick, though if they're going to compete to move up to 10, you never know what happens. And Ralph, if it's not enough, they could always throw in their third round pick.
Well, I don't want to throw in the third, but maybe a fourth or something like that. But
they have 2 fourths. Go ahead, Ralph. What were your thoughts?
Well, I mean, you guys are fixated on McCarthy, but there's teams all rate these quarterbacks differently. Personally, I think Michael Penix is, other than the injury history, I would pick him over McCarthy.
Well, I think he'll be gone long.
You think he'll be gone? Boy, I don't know.
Be gone before McCarthy, yeah.
Well, that means like
no,
That means
Well,
half of the
right.
first 10 players will be quarterbacks.
Penix isn't going in the top 15.
Well, why are you so sure about
Well,
that?
I'm not, no one's sure. Nobody knows for sure what's
You-
happening, but I'm just going by what I listen to, people I speak to.
Yeah,
and
well, this is early.
I
Quarterbacks
understand.
keep moving up, and you just listed three teams that are absolutely quarterback desperate. And if there's a run on quarterbacks, he and Bo Nix and McCarthy could be going. I mean, it could get crazy, and I'm sure 5 years down the line, we're going to look at it, and three-quarters of them will not be that good, because that's
Right.
always the case, except for that 1 year with Justin Herbert and
Right.
Burrow. But I think the Jets are in a good position, Marty.
I really do. Ray, go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you off with
Well,
Penix. Go ahead.
you just listed why I think him and Penix could go in the top 10. You got three teams, one after the other, that all are definitely going to be interested in a quarterback. The very top ones that they're talking about are gone. Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels and I'm not sure who,
Drake May.
Drake
Yeah,
May.
Drake May.
Though some have Drake May slipping, but that's
But you got three teams, and one of them is not
Well-
going to sit there and go, well, maybe he'll drop to us. One of them at least will trade up and try and get ahead of the others, which means at the minimum the Jets, but I bet it would be higher than that.
What,
And
what's
one of them would
then-
get either McCarthy, and I wouldn't be surprised. The only thing going against Penix is his injuries.
That's right.
and his age?
Totally bad.
Well, for
Nobody
quarterback
cares about
age, I don't think is a big
Nobody
problem.
cares about
Yeah.
it. It's not like he's he's younger than Chris Wenke, I think was. I
Oh,
think
by
he's
a lot,
26.
but
but what he showed he can do. There's a team that would love to have him. The only thing that would drop him is the fear that he might injure himself again.
well, yeah, but if he checks out, he's suddenly a very valuable commodity. And like Marty, you just listed those teams.
Somebody
Just because one of them leapfrogs and gets, say, McCarthy, it doesn't mean the other teams are out of the quarterback market. So I think it's going to be lively, and I think. Well, how much time is that? 6. I think. I think I like Bo Nix too very much, and I think he'll
Right.
be a late first round pick.
Let me just Rob August, right on cue. Rob August.
Oh, he's probably listening, wanting to get in.
But let me just also Ray and Ralph, it actually gets better because at number 16 is Seattle. Number 19 are the Rams, so we know Stafford is getting older. And at number 20 is the Steelers. And as we know, they're not crazy about their number 1 draft pick last year. And right now they're talking to Russell Wilson as we're doing this show.
Mm.
So I agree. I think they're in a great position. And, they might get that second round pick and just move down a couple of spots. Whenever you get a bidding war, it just ups the ante a lot. So I think they're in a really good spot. But Ralph, as Ray said, we don't want to see them make a pick for like Brock Bowers at number 10.
Yeah, well, it's tight end.
Nice.
The Jets have a bad history of tight ends in the first round, and of course that's a silly thing to decide who you're going to pick. But no, I wouldn't want to see Brock Bowers be the pick.
Okay, so we all agree. I think every Jet fan wants them to trade back, but not that far.
I don't know. I think a lot of people want to get one of these prime offensive tackles, but I think, so top 2 will definitely be gone, and maybe the top 3 will be gone. So, you don't know. At 10, I think Latham will be there, but and he wants to play for the Jets because he's from Wisconsin. He was a big Rodgers fan. So,
Oh,
hey,
he was?
yeah.
We'll see. And, talking about him, Ralph, I don't know if everybody puts too much emphasis on that last play, that Alabama Michigan game, where he just folded really. Latham, if you remember, he missed his block. All right, anyway, let's move on. I had said, I remember in the middle of last year, I told you guys the free agents quarterbacks in 2024, they're going to clean up. There's going to be such a demand for these guys. So, Ralph, go through a few names. I know you sent us a link, but I don't have it in front of me. So just
I sent you the link. Let me see.
I have it if you want me to read
Yeah,
off.
why don't you read them off?
but
Ray?
don't read all of them. Just read the ones that are of interest for backups. You know what I mean?
Backups.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
Kirk Cousins is definitely going to be a starter somewhere.
Yeah, and so is Mayfield.
So
And
is
Yeah,
Mayfield.
forget that.
so you
So
got Darnold, Winston, Tannehill, Minshew, Drew Lock,
Jacoby Brissett.
Jacoby
Yeah.
Brissett, Mason Rudolph, Trubisky. No, Trubisky just went back to
Trubisky's
he just signed with Buffalo.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz, Simeon's still obviously an option. Josh Johnson.
Dobbs, Corporal Dobbs. What's his name? Josh
Oh yeah,
Dobbs.
Josh Dobbs.
Yeah.
I skipped. Did I say Drew Lock?
Yeah.
Mariota. I don't think I'd kick the tires on Mariota. Blaine.
You said Jameis Winston, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want him either.
So Marty and Ray, in Europe, who jumps out for you? Who do you think would be a good fit for the Jets?
Me?
Yeah, Ray.
I'd go with the same guy I wanted last year, Minshew. That's who I'd like to see him grab.
Minshew is probably my number one choice also. And he actually was leaning towards the Jets, but they didn't make an offer and they didn't come up with enough
Right.
money. So, Minshew, but the other names, everybody here is talking about Brissett in New York. Everyone loves him. And the other one is Tannehill, but I'm not convinced that he's going to accept being a backup at this point in his career. I don't know how you guys feel.
He had a bad year last year. I think he might. I think he's the guy the Jets might end up getting because of his connection with, Todd Downing and Keith Carter. I don't think there's a team in the league that's going to sign Ryan Tannehill to start. Do you?
I wouldn't think so.
Well, but a guy like that, Ray, you think a guy like that's going to sign right away, or he might say, "Let me wait for after the first week of the season and see what happens." Just like he might, be hoping that somebody gets injured in preseason and maybe the first game of the season, because maybe he still wants to start. So I agree. I think like starting Wednesday, I don't think teams are going to be jumping to sign him as a starter. I really don't think so. But I'm just trying to think in terms of how he's thinking. What is he, Ralph? He's like 36, 37?
I think he's 35 going on 36 by this next season. Yeah.
My thing is for him is I think he, if he's looking at the Jets, I don't think he'd sign until he knows what's going on with the offensive line, because he's not somebody that we want running.
Yeah.
So I think he wouldn't sign with us immediately regardless.
Ray, that's a great point. In fact, not just the offensive line. I don't know if a quarterback's going to sign until they see offensive line and what their plans are for receiver also. Because everybody around the league, think the Jets are very thin, besides Garrett Wilson. I happen to think, Garrett Wilson's great, but I don't know what we have like in Brownlee, because we had no quarterback last year either. So I don't know how.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead, Ralph.
I think either we get one in free agency or one of our top 2 picks is going to be a wide receiver. And maybe both. Maybe we get a second level free agent and we get a good pick in the draft. And what I'm interested in is these quarterbacks. How do they view playing behind Aaron Rodgers? Do they look at it and say, this guy could go down at any time. It's not a bad situation. I could be the starter. Which is why I kind of like a younger guy, because I think Rodgers, one thing he's good at is mentoring these quarterbacks. But I think a guy like Minshew, and I like Minshew too, or Brissett, I think those guys are borderline backup, journeyman starters. I think that's what they need, because, there is a good chance that Rodgers is going to get hurt with this pathetic offensive line that they have. And so in a way, I think it might be an advantage to have a 41-year-old quarterback there, because they're thinking, I'm going to get my shot, you know?
Okay, and you guys think that Trevor Siemian was just so awful that there's no way they're going to sign him as a backup?
Well, I think it's, I think it is so hard to judge Jet quarterbacks the last few years. Ray, I mean, you watch the playoffs. You watch these clean pockets these guys had. I don't even know what that was. I was going, wait a minute, is this football?
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, I mean, they were just guys on them before they even turned their, to face the field. So I really think Simeon didn't have a fair shot. I don't know how good he is, but I don't see how we could evaluate him more. That small sample size in which he's getting bombarded constantly. I said this to Marty on the phone, Ray, and I know Zach Wilson's a dirty word, but seriously, if Zach Wilson the last 2 years have been playing for Shanahan in that offense, and Brock Purdy been playing for the Jets, as Marty says, I don't think it would have been a 180, but results would have been a lot different for both those quarterbacks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's why I don't think anybody's excited to come here until they know what our offensive line is going to look like. Because, so in my mind, if they're going to sign somebody right out of the, free agency gate, then I think it's going to have to be somebody they think is very mobile, just to be on the same side.
Yeah, very important. Yeah.
Right. Not just quarterbacks, but do you think having Aaron Rodgers actively recruiting free agents at all positions, is it a big plus for the Jets, or am I overrating it?
Not if he's being realistic about it, not just going for his guys. I mean, if he's recruiting guys that can really help the team and everything, I don't care. That's fine. Go out and try and get them to come here, but don't go after guys just that he personally likes.
Yeah.
Got something like
I think they got a shot at a receiver in free agency because he's here. I think that he'll definitely help in that regard.
Right. Yeah.
Do you have any in mind, Ralph?
Lazard?
What?
What are they going to do about Lazard?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Lazard.
Rodgers will be way better, but
maybe
they're stuck with him for one more year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ralph,
totally forgot about Lazard.
Yeah, such a memorable.
No, Marty, I've looked at the free agent market. I nobody at the moment that I can think of that there'd be any reason to think he'd want to come here more than anyone else.
Right.
Ridley was the only one that I thought
I was never a big fan of his, and
I'm not a huge fan, but
he's going to demand money because he's like, I think, rated the #1 free agent wide receiver. Or I guess T. Higgins is, but they're going to re-sign him.
Yeah, I think did they franchise?
They franchise.
Yeah, franchise.
Now Boyd's available. Ralph,
Boyd's available. Yeah.
I want to ask you, because you're up in the Patriot country, this receiver Bourne,
Kendrick Bourne.
Yeah, what's your take on him?
I would look at him. He's not an elite receiver, but
right.
Yeah,
I like him.
Well, we've got an elite receiver. We don't need an elite one.
Yeah.
Today. We need just
wouldn't hurt, but
pressure off. If somebody else they had to worry about besides Garrett Wilson, it'd be nice.
Talking about receivers, Ray, there's been talk, and apparently it's a little more a rumor that there's a chance Corey Davis might come out of his 1-year retirement and come back. Do you think this is a big deal? I mean, a lot of Jet fans are excited about this. What's your take on this, Corey Davis?
He was pretty up and down, I thought, when we had him. I mean, I compared to what we have, if we don't have somebody else coming in, I mean, and with Rodgers throwing to him, maybe he'll have, a nice comeback kind of year. I mean, I wouldn't be against it, but I mean, is he still technically under contract with us?
I don't know how it works. I mean, he can't sign, I don't think, with another team without compensation. He's the property of the Jets if he comes back. So that's what I was. But my opinion is this. I mean, you read stuff and you have these people, he makes him sound like he's Jerry Rice. And you know me, I'm kind of a cup half empty. And I just see this guy dropping passes on third downs.
Well, I take him over Alan Lazard.
Yeah. Yeah. I think all these guys, I mean, the way Rogers can throw such a catchable ball, it's a big change. So he could be a big addition that we weren't counting on. So I'm not going to say no, they shouldn't. I'm just wondering what the financial ramifications.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he'll take less than he left on the table, but I think they need depth at the receiver position. I got to get a two or three, and yeah, I think he'd fit. He's a good guy. They like him, and I don't think
Yeah.
he's bad. I think he's okay.
Right, I like him too. Okay, Ralph, for you, I mean, I think Jet fans, they realize the importance of last year, Thomas Morstead and Greg Zerline. But with that said, I think a lot of times we take special teams and those two guys for granted. How important is it to re-sign those guys, Ralph?
I mean, it was the best kicking tandem the Jets have had, and I can't remember how long.
ages.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it was sort of overlooked because of all the horrific stuff that went on. But yeah, I want those guys back badly. I mean, they got a low. This is this is an all-in year or two for the Jets. So yes, I definitely want those guys back.
What about you, Ray? What's your take on that?
No, I think it's a must that we sign them. I mean, I hope they learned their lesson from who's the kicker who's back in Seattle that we let go because we didn't want to.
Brian O'Brien?
No, the field
The
goal kicker in Seattle. Anyway, he was great for us, and then he wanted, as a free agent, he was asking for more than they wanted to pay, and he went up. So he left and went back to Seattle, and he's been, great
right.
since still. And we didn't have any great kickers until now again. So, I mean, well, I don't want to. I'd like to see games coming down to the wire with Zerline. I mean, and Morstead. She's talk about a guy who just flips the field.
He's a weapon. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Right.
it's underrated till they start doing it all the time, and you realize what a big deal it is. So
I know Morstead likes it here.
he does.
Yeah, he does. He really
Yeah.
does.
So
You know, yeah, go ahead, Ray.
no, I just said I'm all in. I want them back.
Oh yeah, we want him too. Let's just get back to the quarterback position, and the name I want to throw out is Justin Fields, and there's a lot of talk about the Bears trading him because they have the #1 pick. I guess the question is, what would the compensation be? I know what's his name? Mel, who's the draft guy, Ralph? Mel
Kuiper. Yeah.
Kuiper Jr. had said he thinks it would be like a second and like a fourth or a fifth. I'm not sure what it would be, but if you could pick up a guy like that for like a couple of late round picks, let's say a fourth and a couple of sevens, I don't know, would you do it, Ray?
No, I don't think he wants to be a backup at this point. So I don't think he'd be a good. I mean, I like the guy. I watched him for 3 years at Ohio State, and he was good. He was solid, but I don't think I don't think he's a good fit for what we need. We need somebody who he is mobile. Well, that's one of the things we need, but I don't think he's accurate enough for what we need in a quarterback right now. We need a
What
guy.
was what was your take when he was at Ohio State, Ray, on Justin Fields?
I thought he was very good, but college, it's hard to judge because when you got that much talent on your team, it's hard not to look good. It's just they had great receivers, they had good running backs. And he's mobile, so he was a weapon in himself, and he still is. I mean, he's shown that he's been more. His time in the NFL so far has been more an issue of what he's done with his legs has been more impressive than what he's done with his arm. But the Bears aren't much better offensively than we were. Their offensive line was, basically a mess too. So he has a good arm. It's not that he doesn't have a strong arm, but he's not the most accurate. I just don't think he'd be happy going somewhere as a backup.
You think that some team's going to trade for him and start him?
I think he'd definitely compete for a starting job depending on where he went. And Pittsburgh was one of the places they were talking about trading for him, which it wouldn't surprise me per se. I don't think Pittsburgh will draft a quarterback myself, but they could. But I think if they could work out the right deal for someone like Fields, I think they might go for it. They were linking somebody else with them too, and I'm not sure. I don't remember who it was, but I don't think that would be a good move for us.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, this is Jets Rewind. We're on a live stream on YouTube, and this will be on our website shortly. So I know there's a few people watching, so we all appreciate that. We're just getting this going. Ralph, anything you want to add on Justin Fields?
Yeah, Marty, you're always saying let's grab some quarterbacks in the later rounds. If we could get him for later picks, I would take him for a couple of reasons. First of all, like Ray said, I think he's a perfect fit because the Jets' offensive line is terrible. He doesn't like being in the pocket, and he won't have any excuses about why he ran out of the pocket so quickly because he'll have to. I think that maybe he sees getting mentored by Rodgers for a year or two, maybe straightens his career out. Yeah, if he could go to a team where he could be a starter, but I don't think there's any team that's going to trade high draft picks for that guy and commit him to starting. With all the quarterbacks that are floating around out there, I guess I have to go through the teams again to see. You got teams who are going to be drafting quarterbacks, then you got these free agent quarterbacks who are starting. So I don't know. It's a numbers game, but if he was willing to come here and I would to give up like a fourth and a couple of sevenths, I think I'd do it. And maybe try and groom him as a future quarterback. I was never a huge fan of his, but he definitely has some upside. And Ray, funny, I was talking to Marty about this, and one of the things you point out are how tough it is to evaluate quarterbacks. You look at those three Ohio State quarterbacks, Haskins, Fields, and CJ Stroud. They all had ridiculous numbers playing for a team that was so dominant. They were all in the same position. Yet one of them was a bust, one of them is borderline, and one of them looks like he's going to be a star. So it's really so tough to figure it out. They were all first-round picks.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, a lot of people, if you listen how they talked about him coming out, they would have held Haskins in the same regard as they hold Stroud. I mean, he was just unbelievable, and he just. It turned out he didn't have the work ethic and wasn't panning out for him. But coming out of Ohio State, I never thought he'd be that bad. Unbelievable.
And he's shown improvement. His first year, he threw for 1,870 yards.
What are you talking about now?
Fields. The second year, he threw for 2,242 yards. Third year, 2,562 yards. His touchdowns were in the 3 years, 7, 17, 16. Interceptions, 10, 11, 9. For some reason, I can't get his rushing. I know he did a great job rushing.
Oh, yeah. 1 year, I think he had 1,000 yards, didn't he?
Yeah, he was terrific. So, he was in a tough situation. But, the question is, and we've been alluding to it all show, is like you don't know with these quarterbacks.
Well, I don't want to make it sound like I don't like him either.
I know.
I would be okay with them going for him, but I just don't know if he'd be all in for one. And I don't know what what they would be giving up. Like you say, if it's late round picks, that's a whole lot different than this guy was the number 2 pick, right?
Yeah. Well, Fields, no, he's like 11th or something like that.
Fields,
yeah. Zach Wilson was the number 2 pick that year.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
How soon we forget?
Yeah, that's right. I would think.
Yeah, Chicago, I think, jumped up to get him.
Yeah, but I think they jumped up to higher than 11.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. But I think that I don't know that they're going to give him up for late round picks because I don't think they're ready to necessarily just dump him. He's on a rookie contract, so he's not killing them as far.
I think they have to sort of commit to him though, one way or the other.
It's pretty. I think it's pretty clear they're going to take Caleb Williams, who I'm not personally sold on as being as good.
Yeah, I know that's a whole nother story, but they are going to pick a quarterback.
Yeah,
and
but I just don't think they're going to dump him that easy. I don't think we'd get him for
Well, I don't think they can keep him there. I think if someone's going to pay, and you think about what Carolina paid the Jets for Sam Darnold, which is, kind of a similar situation. If they can get that kind of, draft picks, good for them. I don't want to. I'm not, giving that up for Justin Fields.
What about a sign and trade, Bryce Huff for Justin Fields?
Yeah, sure, I'd do that.
Yeah, Bryce Huff on board with it.
It's interesting, Ray and Ralph, you'll especially love this. The defensive lineman the Bears got last year, I guess from Washington, what was his name? Sweat? Or no, not Sweat.
Sweat.
Was it Sweat?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
An interesting stat I heard, he's like the first person ever in the same season
Yeah, I
to
heard.
lead two teams in sacks, which is really incredible.
It's
So
also says something about those two teams.
right. Just so we know, I just want to mention on the Justin Fields first year, he rushed for 420 yards in 12 games. Second year, 1,143 yards in 15 games, 8 TDs, 7.1 yards per carry. And last year in 13 games, 657 yards, 5.3 yards a carry, and 4 TDs. And boy, talk about a dual threat. This guy's a dual threat.
Well, we'd like him to be a dual threat. We have to see if he's a passing threat.
Yeah.
I'll have to see. Yeah, he might.
I still, I like how all around he is, but I still don't like a quarterback running too much. I don't care.
No, that's true. Yeah.
He does.
But I feel like, if, the first few years, these guys, they run until they actually learn how to play quarterback.
Right.
So I don't know, just throwing that out there. I'm going to be very interested to see where he goes. The other guys, Lance, Zach Wilson, and Mac Jones, those guys all have backup written all over them, at least for the next few years. And I think they're resigned to that. Fields is a little trickier. And I don't know. I mean, I don't, maybe there is a team that feels like that they can fix him, but it's going to be very interesting.
It should be. All right, Ralph, you want to do this new feature called Who Do You Take? Before we get back to the trivia question, we're wrapping it up. This is Jets Rewind. Go ahead, Ralph.
So what I'll do is pick a couple of Jets from the Jet history and who play the same position, and we'll discuss who we like better as a player. It'll be close. So the first one we're going to do is David Harris and Mo Lewis. Who would you take in their Jet career?
I'll go first. David Harris. I was always a huge David Harris.
You were big on him when coming out of college, Marty, and it was one of those rare times that your team picked a player that you wanted.
Out of Michigan, so I would say David Harris. Go ahead, Ray.
I loved them both too. I mean, Mo was something else, but David Harris was a machine, a tackling machine. I like David Harris. Mo was the guy though that could make the game-changing plays, like knocking out.
That's like historic game-changing. Although David Harris had his big moment against the Patriots too, when he picked off the pass.
I'd take Harris. I like David Harris. He was just so steady.
Yeah, he was steady, but I'd take Mo Lewis because I think at his best, if Mo Lewis had played for a contender all those years, I think he'd be getting Hall of Fame votes, not necessarily get in. I thought he was sensational.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things I saw that guy do, sticking his arm out and just knocking a guy out. He was so strong. He was terrific. But so is Harris. Harris is steady. Mo Lewis is spectacular at times.
Go ahead, Ralph. Next.
Next.
Is that it or no?
We'll do one. We'll do one more.
One more.
Leon Washington and Bruce Harper.
I saw that example.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ray. You go first this time.
I liked Leon. I just did. I mean, I know he had a rough ending to his years, but I liked Leon a lot. I mean, so I would go with him, even though Harper probably had a much longer and productive career.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and I agree that Bruce Harper would probably be the logical choice. But again, I always looked in negative. I remember that Buffalo playoff game. He fumbled the kickoff I think it was the opening kickoff and Buffalo got a touchdown. So that's my negative on Bruce Harper. Go ahead, Ralph.
Yeah, I think I'll go with Leon too, because his kick returning was great.
Oh.
I mean, it was really huge. Harper was exciting though, and that was a great team. But I'll go with Leon too.
Right. It's funny about Harper. I always thought that teams should have like one running back between 5'6" and 5'8",
Yeah,
just
yeah.
so they hide behind these offensive linemen. They're just
Good change of pace. Yeah.
Yeah, good change of pace, hard to tackle, and really hard to keep their eye on. All right, Ralph, we're gonna close it out, but we want to go back to the classic trivia question.
Yeah. The classic trivia question is the Jets start 2 linebackers now, but back when they were in their playoffs for the last time in 2010, they actually had 4 starting linebackers. They played a 3-4-4 in those days. See how things have changed incredibly in this league. Can you name the 4 starting linebackers? And we're not talking Matt Snell and Bake Turner. The 4 Jets.
I
What do
only got.
what do
I'll
you
go
got
first,
for me?
because I know I only got David Harris.
That's it, David Harris.
The only one I got. Go ahead, Ray's better at this than me.
No, I was trying to think back then who would have been there. Was Demario Davis one of them?
No, he wasn't there yet.
No, he wasn't there yet. And that's the problem. Everybody I'm thinking of is probably after that.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow, I thought you guys would do better than this. Showing our age here, huh?
I
No,
can't break through the cobwebs there.
I'll give you a hint. One of them is known for one of the most famous quotes as a New York Jet.
Bart Scott.
That's right. Yeah.
that's a good
Can't
one.
wait.
Can't wait.
And one of them was a first round pick who I never liked. And he irritated me because he was the equivalent of Ken O'Brien pick. Because I think 3 picks later they was Ed Reed, which haunted me for years.
Well, it can't be Marvin Jones. It's like
No, not Marvin Jones.
a linebacker, first round pick.
Yeah, I think he was more of an end in college, but they made him into a linebacker. He had one good year. It was his contract year. It really irritated me.
It wasn't Ellis, was it?
No,
Because he was okay. I give up on that.
Brian Thomas.
Oh yeah, Brian Thomas. I remember he had a couple. He had a couple of good years, Ralph.
All right, give him a couple of
Yeah.
years.
But I just want to go back before we close it out. You mentioned
You still have one more, by the way.
Oh, go ahead. Who is it?
Calvin Pace.
Calvin Pace.
I liked him. I liked
Yeah,
him.
did too, but
They got him from Arizona. That was
Yeah,
very
yeah.
good free agent signing.
Yeah, a rare good free agent
Very
signing. Yeah.
rare. I just want to go back, Ralph. You mentioned the name. How long has the Mario Davis played in the NFL? That guy.
He was very productive in college, and you could see he had talent, and they should have held on to him.
yeah, they did. Sure.
And maybe the same thing will happen with Blake Cashman.
Oh yeah, Blake Cashman. Oh, God.
And who's the other guy? Well, because of David Harris, we got rid of Vilma, who was really good, but he had coming off that injury. So I think they thought, well, who knows how that'll work out.
I
So
don't think they thought he was a
New Orleans
fit.
did great careers.
They went to a 3-4. I think they didn't think Vilma was a good fit in it.
Yeah.
He was
Right.
more of a
We got
middle
a Super Bowl
linebacker.
down in New Orleans. So
Yeah. All right, it's a good question, Ralph. I like that, and we're going to close it out and enjoy next week free agency. We're going to be back on the air soon. We don't know exactly when.
Marty, get into shape. The NFL needs offensive
They
linemen.
need them. I know that. They need them bad. I'll tell you, it's
That's another thing. I mean, of all the positions, that is the one that is the biggest need in the league is offensive line. I mean,
By the way, Ralph, did Broderick Jones end up? He ended up having a good season, right?
well, he started out rough, then they moved him to right tackle, and he was all right. But these guys, they don't step in, and occasionally they do. But from what I heard, all of the top linemen last year, had their struggles. And of course, the Giants picking those guys, they've had their struggles too.
Right.
They're bookends.
Thomas and Neal, and everyone's saying Neal's a bust, but let's wait.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not
But-
convinced of that. And go ahead, Ralph. The one thing I want to mention too is that for the Jets, and I mentioned this before, the good part of the draft is the strength this year in talent is the offensive line and wide receiver. But the negative is we don't have that second round pick. And
Yeah,
I want to get that second round pick.
yeah, yeah.
It'd be great if a couple of teams fell in love with Zach Wilson.
For a second round pick?
If they get a,
I know.
Really have to have lost my mind.
Wishful thinking, right?
Yeah.
if they get a 7th for him, I think
That
at
would
this
be-
point, there's just so many quarterbacks out there. It's unbelievable,
Yeah.
and he's at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah. All right, we're going to close this out for Ray Clifford, Ralph Schrager, and Marty Schupak and Jets Rewind. Until next time. This is good. We're still on our live thing, which I don't know how to end it.
That's all right. Let's just, be reality TV.
On Zoom. Yeah, this is.
We can start going about our
what-
lives.
What do you
Good
call
night,
this, Ralph,
Well-
on DVDs, extras?
Oh, the bloopers.
DVD extras? Yeah. So.
We'll do some bloopers now.
All right, let's sign off. Thanks, guys. I want to figure out how to do this on YouTube. If you're listening to YouTube, thank you so much. And I should have this up in within the next hour. Okay? Enjoy your weekend.